He had a name. Asterion. But they called him something else. They locked him beneath the earth, a creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull. But he didn't ask to be born this way. He didn't ask to be fed human sacrifices. He didn't ask to become a monster. This is Pantheon mythology, and this is not a monster. If you too have a name, check out Pantheon Apparel, our clothing brand inspired by myths, folklore and legends. We ship worldwide and are rated excellent on Trustpilot. Link in the description. King Minos asked Poseidon for a sign to prove his right to rule Crete. The god answered with a white bull, radiant, flawless, rising from the sea like a creature carved from light and salt. Its arrival silenced the court. All saw it as divine. Gifts like this were meant for sacrifice, a gesture of thanks, returned in honor. Minos kept it. He placed the bull among his herds and praised its beauty. Poseidon responded in silence, not with a wave or earthquake, but something slower, stranger. A longing grew within Queen Pasiphae. Her thoughts turned toward the bull. Day after day, until that longing shaped her entirely. She sought out Daedalus, Crete's master craftsman. He built her a hollow cow, wheeled and covered in hide, shaped to deceive even the gods. Pasiphae climbed inside. The bull approached. Passion ensued, and something new entered the world. A child was born. His body was strong, his skin warm, his breath steady. His head bore the shape of a bull. The court fell quiet. Servants glanced sideways. Daedalus said nothing. Pasiphae looked into her son's eyes with sorrow. She lifted her hands, ready to hold him. Some versions of the myth say she did, that in quiet corners of the palace Pasiphae held her child close, murmured comfort, and watched him take his first steps. But unease gathered. Servants turned away, officials lowered their eyes, and Minos, fearing disgrace, gave the order. Asterion was taken. Later they would call him the Minotaur, a title with weight, yet in the silence one word remained, a name given once and never spoken again. Asterion, the Starry One. Daedalus was given a task, to arrange a disappearance. The labyrinth stretched beneath the palace, vast and coiled, with no entrance that could be trusted and no path that led out the way it came. Each wall was laid with precision, each turn swallowed light. It was designed for confusion, silence, and forgetting. They placed Asterion inside. Just walls, endless walls. He grew in the dark. He learned the shape of stone by touch, the sound of footsteps by echo. Time drifted without pattern, no sun to rise, no moon to mark its passing. He followed draughts of air toward cracks where a shiver of warmth crept in. He stood beneath shafts of light, though they never stayed long. He pressed his ear to the stone and listened for the voices above. Cooks shouting, carts rolling, music drifting through marble halls he would never see. He waited. Some days the stillness wrapped around him completely. Other times he moved in circles, tracing paths already known. The hunger came and went. The boredom stayed. Then the children began to arrive. He heard them before he saw them. Shuffling feet, choked sobs, the soft sounds of names clutched in terror. Some ran, some begged, some simply stood still. And he approached, sometimes to hunt, sometimes just to reach. sometimes because he didn't know what else to do. Some fled into the dark and were never seen again. Some starved. Some vanished between the turns. Others did not run fast enough. He didn't know their names. He didn't know why they came. He only knew he was alone, and the silence always returned. Minos held power, but he wanted certainty. When Athens displeased him, he named a cost: 14 lives, 7 boys, 7 girls. Their lives became his message. Each year, a ship arrived. No war was needed. The Labyrinth did the work. The world believed the sacrifices kept Asterion fed, that his appetite ruled the terms. But no one heard Asterion speak. No one asked what he wanted. They only listened to the fear, and Minos shaped that fear into control. Asterion became more than a prisoner. He became a story, a reason to obey. The image of him, horns in the dark, breath rising in stone corridors, lived louder than any soldier. And above the maze, the king sat in peace. The tributes continued. Athens sent its children. Crete received them. But one year, a prince stepped forward. Theseus, son of Aegeus, boarded the black-sailed ship and joined the chosen. He crossed the sea with purpose, to end the sacrifices and kill the beast in the labyrinth. King Minos welcomed him. The court watched, and so did Ariadne, the daughter of the king. She had grown up above the maze, and she had heard the stories, seen the empty ships, and walked the palace halls knowing what lay beneath them. She approached Theseus in secret. In her hands, a thread, soft, strong, long enough to lead him back through a place built to confuse. She gave it freely, a path through silence. Theseus tied the thread at the entrance. The other children stayed behind, waiting in the cold stillness near the mouth of the maze. Theseus moved forward alone, sword in hand. Every step took him deeper, every turn brought him closer. He found Asterion at the heart of it. The creature stood tall, built like a man, crowned with horns, his breath thick and stale in the air. This was the monster Athens feared, and he was very real. Asterion had learned to fight. The labyrinth had taught him nothing else but to react, to endure, to survive. He moved with the brute force of a creature cornered, his hooves striking stone, his head butting into the void where his attacker moved. He fought because that was all the world had ever asked of him since the day he was born. And Theseus, trained and unrelenting, matched him with purpose. The blade found its mark. Asterion fell to the stone floor. His chest rose once more, then slowed. He had fought for his life, not from malice, but from the raw instinct of one who had only known survival. Theseus stood in silence, breath unsteady, the sword now slick in his grip. Then he turned, followed the thread through the maze, and returned to the others. This time, they walked out together. The people of Crete waited for triumph. Athens waited for glory. Ariadne waited for something more. No one asked what Theseus saw in the dark, and no one spoke the name of the one he left behind. Theseus returned from the labyrinth. The children followed, silent and pale, blinking against the light. The tribute had ended. The monster was dead. They boarded their ship. The sails were raised, and Ariadne sailed with them, the girl who had handed over the thread, who had betrayed her father, who had waited for something more. But she did not reach Athens. Theseus left her behind on the island of Naxos. Why? No one can say for certain. Some said Dionysus intervened, claiming her for himself. Others said Theseus chose to leave. Either way, she watched the black sails vanish into the horizon, and the world moved on. Minos remained king, Crete remained powerful. Athens, no longer burdened by the tribute, remembered Theseus as a hero, the slayer of the Minotaur, the boy who entered the maze and emerged victorious. And Asterion was buried, not only beneath stone, but beneath the story. He died once by the blade, and again by forgetting. No songs carried his name, no statues bore his shape. The children who had once entered the maze were remembered as victims, but no one remembered the boy who lived among them, not as a prince, not as a prisoner, only as a beast. Minotaur. The name survived. The boy did not. They called him a monster. They taught his name to children as a warning. They built legends around his hunger and his horns. But monsters choose their path. Monsters crave the harm they cause. Asterion was created, hidden, and shaped by a world that offered him no voice. He was taught to survive, not to destroy. He fought because the maze gave him no other rhythm. He killed because others sent the children. He waited in darkness while kings fed their power and cities fed their fear. He was born into silence. He lived alone. He died without understanding why. He was not a monster. He had a name. Asterion. But they called him something else.